What's going on, YouTube? We back. Where did I leave off at? Okay, I left off at they're buying time. They have bought time. Rescheduling marijuana benefits other drugs. Why? These drugs are derived from plants, meaning that farmers were able to get new contracts to farm these plants. That was not talked about in politics publicly to vote upon. So all of these products are being controlled, regulated, and produced. So these buildings that are for dispensaries are in place for zoning purposes, of course, but they have something else in mind for these buildings in the future. How long are these dispensaries going to stay in place? They have bought time with legalizing marijuana. People were moving marijuana by the metric tons, making trillions of dollars before 1986. Now that time has passed, 1996, 97, 98, 99, 2000. I don't know what to tell you there because I was just a young kid. But I'm a byproduct of the past that affects the future. Legal marijuana. That is a part of my bond, my birth certificate, my financial structure. Not just me, but a lot of people. Don't sound right, but we all have birth certificates. So they bought time with this medical marijuana aspect, and they have to reschedule the drug because of finances, people that know the truth in and outside of political rings. Guess what? People's wives, they want to speak up, but they can't, or they're not by choice. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Selling drugs is dangerous. Violence. That's why they're changing the rescheduling of drugs because the violence that they thought was going to occur didn't occur, and they relocated police officers. They changed I'm stuck with the word, but it's about to come to it. They changed the ordinance where state police can monitor. They changed the ordinance. Depending on how they run their state, depending on how their laws is, but state police officers by now on like outside of the cities, more so on the highways, probably watching a forest land, state police officers are doing other jobs besides monitoring the road like they used to. Even local police officers. There are fewer local police officers. The amount of officers that were hired, it's probably the same number. They just got changed to different jobs, meaning inside of the police department they're doing a different job because they don't need that many vehicles on the road no more to be hunting people down or chasing people or ready for a chase. So that's what medical marijuana changed for a lot of people. And drugs, basically, they don't basically fund the police department, but all of the money seized and the drugs seized, that's extra funding to the police officer, whether it's for bait, whether it's for advantages, whether it's for political trade. I don't know that part for sure, but that's where we're going with this. So the rescheduling of medical marijuana is because people are agreeing with each other too much to where they don't have no controversial reason for voting about that in other aspects, basically. In voting for something to vote about and for. So they're rescheduling the drug because they already have a personal outlook of what should have occurred, but they seen the financial gain or theft that they could pull off by legalizing marijuana and using time too, because they released some prisoners from prison and it's not what they thought it would be like. Some of it is, some of it isn't. So what do we look at it being about now, rescheduling the medical marijuana, when we thought they already had it figured all the way out, didn't they? To call it medical marijuana. And then they said, no, it's marijuana, cannabis, medical marijuana. And then they start spelling it different ways, and, a lot of things. So we don't want to deal with confusion. Manipulation was not working. Allowing us to vote for it, that was the manipulative part. Because both presidents or multiple presidents probably had the same perspective of why they need to enable medical marijuana before they proceed with the real plan that's already in effect before the voting happened outside of the United States. So now here we are with gas prices going up, but we talking about drugs and medical marijuana, and the topic is rescheduling medical marijuana. Cocaine is produced extracted and then making the full drug has different ingredients, and a certain type of gasoline or gas petroleum is in that drug. So that gas petroleum, that ingredient that's in cocaine as the full drug is being sold as well. So that means they have to buy this gasoline or petroleum to finish and complete cocaine. So now we have marijuana that sells as a natural drug, but we have a leaf product that they're growing to make cocaine too as well. That's why it was already a controlled substance, because both products were being controlled outside of the United States, meaning the petroleum and the plant product that is combined to make the drug, as well as consumers' energy, because they have to dry that product out. They have to dry it a certain way. They can't blow it with air, hot air. They have to let it dry out. They have to let it deplete with the fluid to deplete, or dry out at a pace where it doesn't damage the quality of the product that they just created. Now, medical marijuana was allowed to be called medical marijuana way after so long, and both of these drugs have been sold, produced, regulated, and studied. So now they see the studying of these drugs are what they are combined. That's why they sifted fentanyl in there, because they already know the history of all of these drugs, what they cause. They know the whole pipeline of effects as these drugs are being sold, transported, and smuggled, or grown. They know the effects. They don't want to keep going through that and spending the financial resources on defending, jeopardizing something, or as well as utilizing something, meaning these controlled substances, into medical products. So therefore, they legalize something to extract fundings that they already have obtained, so they don't have to put it out. They can use that to buy another method to enforce whatever they're about to vote for next in advance. Of course, that's a part of the plan. So now we have to really ask them, why are they rescheduling medical marijuana when we already voted for it? They haven't given us any other reason to vote for any other drugs. I'm not contracted with Pfizer. I'm not. So I'll stop right there. But Pfizer could strike me too, because they have inside intel by Pfizer workers that can talk, if it got that important, about what I'm saying right now. So countries outside of the United States, it's a lot of petroleum was a commodity that was used to minimize war because of territory. So there was a mule or a person or something that will commute the product past a boundary where they don't have to go to war. So now it's changing because things are already in effect and they see where they have to pick up at. That's where Uber Eats, Lyft, delivery service came in, because they have so many cars that are already produced and not purchased, and as well as purchased cars are coming back from being repossessed. They have all these cars. They have a business that they can produce out of these cars, and that's delivery. So that's where kidnapping comes into play, because people can speed off faster because they are already assessed with a vehicle or means of commuting and transporting something. So this is almost traditional what they're doing. They just have to push an agenda first through us to give us the okay because of hindrance that can occur after the vote is solidified. So after medical marijuana came what? All of this trafficking business that we've been seeing with taxi drivers from years, decades, and generations back made consistent money, which is dangerous being a taxi driver, but they seen that it made a certain type of money effectively. And we talking about in time spans and freight time spans and daily gauges. Being a taxi driver, you getting paid more than once in a day, but you gotta keep buying gasoline. That goes back to the cocaine. What does all this have to do with medical marijuana? They both are drugs. A product, an ingredient that's in cocaine is a part of taxi driver situation. That's already being paid for and regulated. So this all comes together. You're going to take cocaine out the equation because I'm not trying to keep talking about that. But medical marijuana and taxi drivers are the new combination because these drugs have to be funded, and I mean funded by saying transported. They already have transportation. They already have petroleum. They already have, you see these things I'm about to say, so with that being said, the move that they're ignoring to talk about is the trafficking and commuting part because it's known already. So why are they rescheduling medical marijuana? Because these presidents don't know how to cause a separation on what they all agree on. But they have to talk about the separation for the competition of presidents to be a competitive feature on television. They all know the information and the truth, but they have to fight to get chosen. Why? Because they want to be funded. They want a salary. They want that money to do the job or be the person in position. And they're still not making all of the decisions. They're just the face and the body. That has to be protected before everybody runs. Why they are rescheduling medical marijuana, we're going to wait for that because I'm not the one that's going to give you the answer. Or do I already know? But that's the president's job to tell us why they rescheduled medical marijuana. It goes from a controlled substance to a new rescheduling of the drug. Let's listen. Check y'all out in the next video.